Hello, everyone, and welcome to Film Independent Presents, our year-round screening and Q&A series, now virtual. I'm Brian Sheehan with Film Independent. Thanks so much for joining us to talk all things the map of tiny, pretty perfect things. First off, I'd like to thank some of our ardent supporters, our lead sponsor, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and our screening partner, Vision Media. If you have a question today, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and hopefully we can get to it towards the end of our session. And today we have a special guest moderator, Deputy Awards and Features Editor at Variety, Janelle Riley, who is also an Emmy winner and one of our favorite moderators. And without further ado, I will let Janelle take it away from here.
Thank you so much, Brian. And it makes me so happy that you stumbled over my title because it's a mouthful and I'm always struggling to get it out. So I know I'm not alone. And thank you all so much for joining us. I am so thrilled to introduce the stars of the Map of Tiny Perfect Things. Please welcome Kyle Allen and Kathryn Newton. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Janelle. Hi, everyone.
Whenever I have people as accomplished as you are, I actually like to go back to the beginning and ask, what was your first job as an actor? You know, whether you were paid for it or you just sort of felt like, you know, this was your career and you could finally call yourself an actor. And let's start with Kyle.
Oh, no. Okay.
His story is really good.
First job. I did I think I did like a non-union headphones commercial. I was an injured dancer in Los Angeles and I was trying to make money. And I had a friend that told me that if you get on a website called LA Casting, like, you know, you can dance, you can do like flips and stuff, like you can make some cash on there. It only costs like $25 a month, or it did at the time. I don't know what it costs now. I was street performing on Venice Beach. In between those two things, I was able to make some cash. I was sleeping on a friend's couch. But I think my first gig was like a headphones commercial after a couple of weeks of getting on there. I thought I was gonna do stunts. I just had to make out with someone for about 3 hours. Yeah.
But tell them about Venice. Tell them about that.
Tell them about street performing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was walking around my neighborhood in West Hollywood once, and I ran into this guy, and we were both waiting across the street, and I don't know how a conversation started. Maybe he asked me where I was going. I didn't think anything of it, but I was like, I'm going to the park to like train. And he was like, oh, what do you train? I was like, I do like tumbling and acrobatics and stuff. And he was like, oh, me too. I have like a crew. Like we do street performing on Venice Beach. And he like didn't believe me that I was an acrobat. So like I like right there on the street corner, like I did a backflip and then he did a backflip. And then we were like, great. And then we both went to the park and just started like training. And then he invited me to like go be a part of his crew, and we would take the bus from West Hollywood to Venice. And then we had like a big speaker, and he'd come up and he'd stand on a trash can and get everyone's attention and tell a bunch of jokes. And I do a bunch of tumbling passes. There was Spider and Freckles, and his name was Neo Cool J, and I didn't have the name. I just I showed up and did backflips. And at the end, we would get a bunch of people to line up, bend over, and then we do front flips over them, and we walk around with a bucket.
That's amazing. Can you still do this? These flips?
Oh, yeah.
I can still do all of those things. I try to avoid doing them for 7 hours a day on concrete.
Understandable.
Right.
Kathryn, what about you? That's a tough one to top.
I know. I love that story because it's kind of like the dream, right? You come to LA and you're like on Venice Beach, like handing out a hat, you know, and now, you know, we're doing a movie together. It's a dream come true. You know, I've been an actor so long, since I was 4 years old. And there was like my first job ever, I think, was the HBO short film called Bun Bun. And I just showed up and sat in the sand and started making a sandcastle, and they were like, she's perfect. And they didn't fire me. You know what I mean? They had like 3 little kids and they kept me. But when I was in high school, acting was always just fun. It was always just something that I did for fun. I was really into school. You know, I was a golfer. It was always just like an activity. It was never like an end goal. But I had this opportunity when I did Paranormal Activity 4. I was the lead of this franchise film. And I had so much fun. And I thought to myself, this is the best thing in the world. Making movies is the easiest thing. And it was so creative and I was so inspired that I think after that, I just didn't think I wanted to do anything else.
Yeah.
And it just kind of changed everything. I think it was the experience of making that movie. And then you graduate high school and everyone asks you, what are you going to do? And I just said, I want to do what I'm doing now. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm lucky enough that since I've graduated, I've been working consistently on really great projects. So I hope that I just keep doing what I'm doing now.
Do you still find it easy like you did back then?
I do. I think that this industry is the most magical thing. And my experiences have been perfect. Like I've only had good experiences on set. So I do think it's easy because when the project is for you, it comes to you so simply. Like on the Map of Tiny Perfect Things, I walked in the room, I met the director, Ian. He asked me what I thought the movie needed. I told him. And then the next thing I know, I was in Arizona at a golf tournament and I was sitting on a rock and they called me and they're like, remember that meeting you had? Yeah, you got it. I was like, oh, how did this? Great. But like, that doesn't always happen. And the ones that you stress over, like I have Kyle, he's coming over later. He's going to help me with a self-tape. You can't like stress over these things because they're just, we're making movies. It's the most fun thing ever.
It
you know?
should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I actually want to start at the beginning with the Map of Tiny Perfect Things because the script comes to us from Lev Grossman, who wrote the Magician's books. But I think this is his first screenplay. I'm curious. It is. Okay. How did it find its way to you and what interested you in being a part of this story?
You first.
Well, I think for me, I was interested in this character, Margaret. I loved the time loop aspect of the film. And I also liked that it was a movie with two characters that are young, but kind of their own people because you don't really know their parents. It's like, Charlie Brown, how the parents like I really, they were their own people. And I wanted to know why Margaret didn't want to grow up and what was keeping her. And the director, Ian, he was so open to everybody's ideas. And I think that what I'm learning on movies is that if you are the smartest, you're in the wrong thing. You should always be inspired by people around you. And that's how you get the best out of everybody, is to like let everybody come together. And so he created that kind of environment. And so I thought it was going to be really creative for me. Like I knew I was going to be able to take risks and scenes. And I told him from the start, you have to believe that these two kids are in love.
Yeah.
And he said, that's what's going to ground the movie. And I said, well, you got to believe it because it's the only thing that makes this girl want to grow up. And then we had these amazing chemistry reads with all these amazing boy actors. But then Kyle came in and I knew Kyle. I knew him. I was like a fan of his because I knew he was an incredible dancer. And I always have so much respect for anybody who's really good at something. And he's like really, really good at it. And I thought, this is going to be great if they pick Kyle because he can like literally carry me through this world. And you needed that. You needed someone who's going to be able to move smoothly, like as if it was a dance, and also just be present with you. And so it had to be Kyle.
Wow.
We were like, it has to be Kyle. And it wasn't like it was that easy to say it had to be Kyle either. You know what I mean? There's great actors everywhere, but Ian and I were like conspiring to make it him. And it worked out. And the movie is so much better because he's in it.
Kyle, from your point of view, did you know these machinations were going on behind the scenes to get you this part, or did you just?
I had no idea. I mean, I remember reading the script and being like, God, this looks like a great time. I really appreciate the thought, that went into it, how it was such a fresh take on a classic thing. And, as an actor, anything that's good, like you want to do, like you just want to make movies. And this was so much more. It was so much more in my ballpark than most of the things I read. I just had so much physicality and so much heart. I was just like, I feel like I can bring so much to this. You're just like, let me in, coach, kind of deal. And I remember reading it. I auditioned for it at the legendary Nancy Nair casting office.
She's a tough one. It's a tough casting office.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite. I think every casting office should be tough. Like make it tougher, make it harder. Um, I'm kind of insane. But yeah, I auditioned for it. I took a meeting with Aaron Ryder, one of the producers, and he talked about, like, he just said all of the right things to me about, like, Chaplin and how he wanted to have these pieces in it. And I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. And then I, I, I kind of felt like it went away for a while, and then they gave me a call that I had to fly. I was in New Orleans working, and I had to, like, fly back and chemistry read with Kathryn. And I was in that room. I was like, oh man, and then Kathryn already had a part, and I was like, oh man, they really have to pick Kathryn because she's perfect. I'm kidding. And yeah, I think I then I had to take a meeting with Amazon, and they let me have the
But I
part.
called you before your meeting with Amazon, remember?
I wondered.
I called him and I was like, I
You
just
did.
want
You
to
did.
know
Very.
you're my favorite. So just know that going in, I got your back,
Wow. I'm curious for each of you as actors, how do you generally choose your roles? Is it the script, the director, the other actors, or maybe it differs from project to project?
I think, I feel like if a story is told with, detail, depth, and with a sense of responsibility, I have a tendency to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really driven by the people making the project these days. For me, I usually just audition, Janelle. I'm really just trying to get a good one. It's really, you got to be lucky over here. And I have been really lucky, but that's what I've learned is the best projects are surrounded by people through and through who are at the best, like, in the game. And on this one, we had amazing producers behind it at Film Nation. Ashley Fox. I had my second meeting with Ashley, and I asked her, because my fear was that I was going to be disappointed. Like, I had expectations for the story, and then I was like, is my hair and makeup going to be bad? Like, am I going to look like a silly kid? Like, what is it? And she's like, no, we make great movies, and this is going to be great. And it was. And, like, that's the kind of thing that I'm driven by now. I'm driven by characters, but what if my character is really cool? And then, like, it's the whole thing, you can only do your part. So for me, I love being on set and just being inspired by the people that are making it. Whether I have one line in the movie, I don't care. If you know what I mean? It's like, movies are very collaborative. It's really not about you and your role. At the end of the day, it's a team. So for me, right now, it's definitely who am I going to be hanging out with all day? Who am I going to be influenced by? Who am I going to get inspired by?
One of the things I really like about this film is how it starts off by putting us right into the action. It's self-aware of what a time loop is. It even references Groundhog Day. And obviously Palm Springs came out about a year ago. It uses a similar device. What is it about these stories that fascinate people so much? I said earlier offline that this is a horror story for me because I think it would be horrible to get trapped. But
Me too.
Yeah, there's something sweet and endearing about this one.
Aww. Go ahead, Kyle. You go.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are genuinely aware that they're trapped in time. It might not necessarily be a repeating day, but we're still bound by time. And I think that's that's a device that we live in, and we tell stories about life. And I think this is another way of exploring this strange thing that we're all, like, tied to anyway. And then it also, I think it puts characters in a really central position where they see the world and there are no consequences. And we often, like, think about that, in philosophy, like if no one was looking, what would people really do if they weren't beholden to that? And I think our film really speaks to the good in people you know, and also asks challenging questions about time. Like, how do you want to move through this thing? You have to move through it. You don't have a choice. How are you going to do that? Because like it's like what you make it. You know.
I also think Maps explores what it feels like to be stuck in a time loop, because that's just how you feel when you're young. You feel like every day is the same. Your math class is the longest thing in the world. You're never going to start your life. You're never going to fall in love. Like, when is your life going to start? And I think that's what we use the time loop as an allegory for in this film, which is different than you see in like other time loop movies. It's less about the time loop and more of just a feeling. So I, you know, it's like being stuck in a teenage wasteland, and I'm obsessed with teenagers. So I was really into that idea of like going back to my teenage. I loved being bored in high school. It was like my favorite thing. I would be sitting there and everyone's like, you know, making jokes in class, and I'm like, this is so awesome, because I was working at the same time. So I like was trying to be an adult, and then I'd come to school and like get in trouble for talking in class. I'm like, this is so cool. You don't even know. So I like that Maps kind of deals with that, like waiting for your life to start when you're young. And the truth is I still feel like I'm in high school. I don't think it ever changes.
Mm-mm. One thing I really like that I haven't seen in a movie like this, not that there are many movies like this, but the characters really seem to take their situation in stride. They handle it really well. We don't see the initial them sort of coming to terms with it. And it makes me think that there could be cool things about being in a time loop, maybe. I mean,
You can eat whatever you want and not get fat. That was a big plus. If I was in a time loop, I would be eating a lot. Mm-hmm. Which Margaret does. She takes advantage of that.
Yep. Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. I know that every role requires some sort of preparation or even research, even if it's just, you know, getting to know your character. How did you go about preparing for these roles, and how much, you know, if at all, did you relate to Mark and Margaret?
Oh, there was a lot of prep for me in regard to her outfits. I like wanted to create her look, like my hair, all of it. You know, I got a lot of inspo from Penny Lane. Obviously, you know, I had to throw some cool shades in and like let my hair be like that. And I wore a lot of my own clothes. I wanted to embed that she's wearing her mom's clothes, like. So we wore a lot of vintage pieces and a lot of like grandma sweaters, grandma vibe, you know, like something that you pull from your mom that doesn't maybe fit her that well, but it's just a feeling. So when you're sitting on set and you see what you're wearing, it reminds you like the reason your character is the way she is. But you know, I like to just get inspired by like from Kyle and Ian and where we were. We shot in the coolest place, Fairhope, Alabama. You'd never know, but it's the coolest place, you know. They're just the nicest people.
It looked cool.
It was just like as much of a character in the movie as we were. It was really just me, Kyle, and Fairhope every day. And without Fairhope and the people there, the movie we wouldn't have gotten through. We took over that town. We really did. But Kyle had to do a lot of prep because we had these big, like very huge like oneers, especially the beginning of the film. Kyle's like oneer. He was there before I was with his choreographer, and they started prepping that. And then I came like a week later and we started prepping we called it the stair walk through the town. And that was just like, it's my favorite scene I've ever done. It's a very long scene. And it was just like us and the DP working our way through this town without stopping. It's like a classic movie in that way.
That's so cool. And Kyle, I imagine your dance background probably came in handy in staging some of those scenes.
Oh, absolutely, without question. I mean, the spatial awareness that you have to like launch yourself. Oh, see you soon, Ken. Oh, there you go.
She's back.
I don't know.
Yeah, she got to work with you.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, the spatial awareness that you have to have as you're both on set, but more so when you're hurdling yourself across a stage with a ton of other people, really helps on a set, because what you see on camera is only, you know, 10% of the people that you actually have and the things that you have to maneuver around. And, it's really specific, the positioning of everything. And so nailing all of those bits and pieces was really important. And as we created it with the choreographer, Gabriel Del Vecchio, who was also my mentor, and we, create all of those pieces as we're going through town and spacing those things out, making them, pleasing and subtle and hitting all of the really, specific notes that were in Ian's, our director's vision for what those things wanted to look and feel like. I mean, it takes a tremendous amount of work and rehearsal and fine tuning and trying different things. And so we spent a lot of time doing that. That was a big part of my preparation.
The movie it's so funny, it's romantic, but something that really caught me off guard is it's a really strong, accurate portrait of grief. And I'm really curious how you went about balancing all those tones. I don't know if it was there in the script or, if on the day of shooting, you sort of had to adjust and, sometimes you do a scene really big and really small, and sometimes it's found in editing.
I found that I was really worried that Margaret was going to be unlikable. That was my number one thing with Ian. I would be like, don't I seem like mean? Aren't people going to hate me? Why is she like, she's so mean to Mark? Like, people are going to be so mad at her. And he's like, no, they're not, because of what she's going through. That is the later reveal. But I mean, you just have to trust that the director knows what he's doing. And I completely did, because for my character, I had to be grounded in that all the time. So I felt like I was really boring, and I thought I was going to be so boring to watch and not funny at all, because I was just, really in that place of grief. And it's really made me feel, I've shared a lot of tears with people who have talked to me, who've seen the movie already, even people who have interviewed me who've recently lost somebody or even a parent, and they say how much it felt like how they felt. And that makes me feel really good, because you just want to honor that. And I think that's what the movie's about, is, life gives you good and bad. Margaret shows the bad, and Mark kind of shows life is really good, but you have to let go of both. You have to let go of whatever's happened to you so you can make room for something new. And I think it's really hard, especially when you're young, to think that life's going to get any better. But as far as balancing the tone, I just trusted the words on the paper. I really did. Yeah.
Kyle, for you?
I'm mesmerized when she talks. I forget what we're talking about. What are we saying?
My number one fan.
Really finding the tone of this film, it can go from comedy to drama in like a split second.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, that's Ian. You trust the gentleman with the vision for the thing. You trust the writer and the vision. That's kind of your job as an actor, is to get lost in the particular moment. And
I have to say this now. Kyle, do you remember, like, halfway through filming, Ian said, do it like a French film? And Kyle and I looked at each other and we were like, it's a French film.
Actually not. That's not how this went.
Okay, what happened?
We went over to his house for rehearsals, the house that he had during shooting.
Cutest little house.
And just for rehearsal, to talk about, the next kind of week of filming. That's what we would do on weekends. And he showed us this thing, because I think within the next 2 days, we're going to be shooting what we call the Astaire Walk. Just kind of this like banal, like we're sick of everything, going through and kind of talking. And he showed us this piece from a French film. I can't remember, this old black and white French film. Just showed it to me on his phone. And given his, sorry, there's an airplane. I don't know if it's messing.
Oh, it was you. I thought it was me. Well, we live close to each other, so it could have been.
Oh, that's us. Great. North Hollywood for the win. Yes. So he'd been giving, all of these, great, brilliant notes and things that we were applying, and then he showed me this thing. I turned and I was like, Ian, this is a French film. And he was like, Kyle, if this turns out like a French film, like, I will be so happy. And I was just like, this is fantastic. This is great. And so it was great. We worked together. Like he had that from the beginning. He had this sense of the project. And then it's really fun to get into someone's head like that over a period of time. And there were times when we like, you know, it wasn't easy. It took a lot of discussion. It took a lot of like trying different things, but we kept working at it. We found it. I think that's really a testament to his ability to set a tone.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the plane has now reached me. It's hovering over me. I actually heard it moving. I am curious, what for each of you did end up being the most challenging part of making the film or playing these characters? I mean, it sounds like it was a joy, but you know, there's always challenges on occasion.
Challenges? I don't think I really had any challenges. I thought this movie was so simple to make and to be on, and like every day was so much fun. Challenges. So difficult to work with Kyle, honestly. Just a headache.
Hard time with Kathryn Newton. She's such a.
I know, you can say it. I'm a diva. No,
that's
what you're gonna.
I was actually gonna say I had a really, really hard time in the script. There was this scene where Mark throws a bottle and it gets caught in the door as it's closing. And I was like, in my head, Mark was 40 feet away from this door and has got like an aerodynamic, like a Gatorade bottle, and just like chucks it like 40 feet and lands perfectly in the door. And I was like, there's no way I'm getting that. So they're just going to CG it. It's going to be cool, fantastic. I show up on set. Ian is sitting behind a trash can. It's about 15, 16 feet away from the door that's going to close, and the door is big, and they have a smart water bottle which is long, so
I would say it was like 30 feet. That was a really long throw.
Okay, anyways, not as long as I thought it was going to be, and I was like, you know, I think I can make this. And he was like, you can make this? And I was like, I think I can make it. So I got like a team of people to kind of reenact the scene a bunch of times, and I like plotted out my footwork specifically so that I would like step to the side and like swing it really straight. And we got it to the point where I was hitting about like 5 or 6 out of every 20 like tries, which is not great, but it's like you could do 20 takes of that and get it. And then it was like, okay, like you're doing it. We're not CGing this. Like you're gonna do this thing. And they brought the whole crew over, and they brought like, you know, the cameras and stuff, and it didn't work. And so we had to adjust my footwork. Well, like the shot didn't work, and so we had to adjust my footwork so that the shot could work. But like I hadn't practiced at that particular distance from that angle, because you need to get it like get a rhythm over and over again. And we did it about 26 times, and I am just like, my insides, you know, everyone, it's so awkward.
We were going overtime, meal penalties, the pressure was so high.
And I'm like, this was supposed to be computer generated.
But he did it.
You did. You got it. Okay.
I got it.
And it's in the movie. And my reaction is so genuine. I was so genuinely shocked that he did it. I was so happy for him, because it was a long day.
I had done it like 30 times prior to that, just from behind the trash can instead of the pillar. And it's not good. It's not good.
I do want to take some questions.
Go ahead. It was a challenging day. I was just saying that was a challenge. That was a challenging day on set.
And you brought it on yourself. Was the worst part.
Yeah, I know.
It yeah, serves me right. I can do this.
I do want to take some questions from the audience, and if you have any, just type them into the Q&A, I guess, button at the bottom of the screen. One from Bobby Eddie wants to know if you can speak about the pickup shots you had to do in quarantine. Oh, I wasn't aware you had to do pickup shots. What was it like having a hiatus from the role and then having to come back and revisit it?
That's a great question. The funny thing is that we had 2 days left of filming, and they shut everything down because of COVID, and we missed a very integral part of the story. And everyone was freaking out because we were like, are we ever going to get it? Are we ever going to get it? And there was this really random, it was the shot where Margaret leaves Mark at the airport, and she decides she's not going to go with him anymore. And at that point in the movie, you think that means she's going to stay in the time loop, and Mark's figured it out and they're not going to be together. And it was like a very big deal. And there was this day on set, the last day, where our director had me do a pickup shot of me like reading a text message and then like putting it down. And I was like, what is this? What is that for? He's like, I wasn't going to tell you, but it's just in case we're not going to do the airport scene. I'm like, that's what it's going to be. And it would have ruined everything. So thank goodness that didn't work. They watched it and they were like, yeah, that's not good enough. But this, honestly, for me personally, it's like COVID, it's like time stopped. Like I've never stopped making this movie. So when they called, it was like, it felt like a day. I think it was probably like 2 months since we had wrapped. And then, we went back to work. Like, no, it's like going to see your best friend that you haven't seen in a while. Everything just jumps right back to where it was.
Wow. Kyle, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was just obsessed with the kind of the technical aspect of it. I feel like a set is one of the most efficiently adaptable organisms that people have created. So they really, embraced every protocol and developed systems to make the entire process safe. We got rapid tested. There's different tiers and clearances. The actors are protected because we have their masks off. Every single person on that set gets rapid tested every single day. And I thought that was cool. It's disappointing because you want to hang out with people, you want to talk to people. We hadn't seen this kind of family that we created. We hadn't seen anyone for like 6 months. So it was amazing to see them, but like you couldn't hug anyone. You couldn't see their faces and stuff like that. But given the times, I was just extremely grateful to see everyone again, and the part, our characters, the story, and everything came back immediately.
Did you do the pickup shoots in Los Angeles, or did you have to go back to Atlanta?
We did them in Atlanta.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We shot them at the airport in like Burbank, right? Somewhere in Burbank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that this was discussed, but making a movie about a time loop at a time where it feels like we're sort of trapped at a time loop. Did you remark on that at all when you returned to set?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We started this film on my birthday, February 8th, and like it was a magical celebration. And then the movie came out on my next birthday. And I was like, you guys, this has never ended. This movie didn't end. I am living the same day over and over again. I cannot believe it's been a whole year. But it's no better time for this movie to be out because I think everyone feels like they're stuck in a time loop right now. Mm-hmm. It's what it's about. You got to start your life right now, even if that means you wear the same clothes every day, like me. Normally, I'm still wearing my slippers and my sweatpants under here.
Yeah, I'm wearing pajamas under this, so I relate. We have a question from Bill H. Of course, I have to ask this because it involves one of my favorite movies from last year, Freaky. It says, Kathryn, this may seem like an odd question. This role is obviously very different from that in Freaky, but did you find any similarities between the two roles or films?
Did I have any similarities between like Mark and Margaret and Freaky? Absolutely not. I cannot say that they are anything alike. This was such a nice movie to do after Freaky. I loved filming that movie Freaky so much, and playing a serial killer was so sick. Like, I can't wait to do another role like that. But no, they're totally different vibes. This one was more like how I felt when I was young, what I feel like everybody feels like when they're young. And it was just like a very sweet movie. Yeah. Freaky is not so sweet. It's very in your face film. But no, I don't think so. Every project to me is so different. Mm-hmm. Like, well, they're all movies, but the process of making them, I've never done a project that feels the same. I'm not like, the only thing that's similar sometimes is you're going to play like someone's teenage daughter and you're supposed to be angsty. So they give you the same leather jacket and the same skinny jeans. Like I could just go from set to set, like, swear to God, same brown eyeliner. It's always the same. So that gets a little similar, but it's changing for me. Everything's changing. I don't know.
Yeah. Playing a serial killer, or actually what you did in that movie was you played Vince Vaughn as a serial killer. That's right.
Thanks.
We have a question from, it's an anonymous attendee, who wants to know what you've been watching recently. We are in this strange time where we're, sort of locked down in our homes. What are the shows or the movies that have been sort of helping you get through this time?
I've been keeping up with a lot of Korean action films on Amazon Prime. That's pretty much what I want to do with my life. And The Man from Nowhere. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's brutal, but it's spectacular.
That's a
Kyle and
great
I were
one.
watching WandaVision. We were watching WandaVision. I love it. I think it's incredible. I think it's an incredible way to tell a story. I'm blown away by it. And I just started watching Peaky Blinders. I can't believe how late I am, but it's incredible. I want to be on a project like Peaky Blinders, like, period. It's so cool.
Wow, that's so cool.
Money.
Oh, go ahead.
Money Heist.
Oh, I hear that's really good. It's
Yeah,
from another
it's a-
country, right?
Spanish heist series. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about that one.
Ooh.
It's
Uh,
I wasn't sure, but I was so wrong.
and we have a question from Matilda. Oh, wants to know what each of you are working on next, if you can reveal. Actually, Kyle, is this true? You're in West Side Story?
This is true. This is true. Yeah, West Side Story, which I can say a grand total of nothing about other than it's amazing. And we're so excited to share it with everyone. That comes out, I believe, next December. I want to say 10th, but around there.
Can't see it.
Of this year. Yeah, I mean it's incredible. It's gonna knock your socks off. And then I'm gonna be shooting a project, which probably won't come out for a while, in Atlanta. It's called The In Between.
Which sounds fascinating, just what little I've heard about it. I'm excited.
Very fascinating.
Did you, obviously, so you got to be directed by Steven Spielberg?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. He lives up to the hype. It was amazing to see someone at that level of filmmaking who's been doing it so long, be so gracious to everyone. He learned everyone's name, and to take input from everyone. Like if you had an idea, if I had an idea or something, he'd be like, oh, that's, yeah, great, keep that in. Or like, oh, did you do this because you thought that's a great idea? Like keep that in. And I was just like, of course you are this way. Of course you are like a kid in a candy store, happy to be working with all these people. Like that's the way it is, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way he is. But it was, I mean, it was amazing. He would just be like, we're gonna do this thing. I can't say any more, but we're gonna do this thing, and it's gonna kind of be like, maybe like this one part in when we had Harrison Ford do this in Indiana Jones. We're like, oh yeah, like that thing in Indiana Jones, and then we're like, oh right, because you did that, you created that thing with Indiana Jones that has defined existence. Cool, okay, I'm talking to you. Right, yeah, let's pretend that didn't happen.
Wow.
But lots of moments like that, pinching ourselves.
But working on maps was like way more fun, right? Right. Okay.
Without question. The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. My next project has been announced, so I can say that I'm going to be casting Lang in the Marvel's Ant-Man Quantumania, but I really am not allowed to talk about it. But I'm so excited. I cannot wait. It's a dream come true to be in the Marvel universe. It truly is. But I just recently optioned my first book. I'm so excited.
What? Get out!
I just optioned, I just got the email, I got the contract. It's officially, we'll see what I can do with it. So I just did that. And I have a TV show that I wrote that I just kind of sold, and that's starting to happen. So I'm kind of, the truth is I'm still just an actor. I'm still just doing that, but I'm starting to get the ball rolling on my own projects, and we'll see what happens. I'm way in over my head. I have these Zoom meetings and I just really act like I know what I'm talking about. And I think that you just got to act like you know. And then it all works out. But you get a lot of no's too. You get a lot of people saying that's great. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you get someone who's like, yeah, I want to do that. And you're like, great. So I'm trying to do it all right now.
Well, like you said, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to surround yourself with people that maybe make you feel a little bit intimidated.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time feeling like that.
Would you ever be interested in directing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is all Vince Vaughn's fault. On Freaky, he started telling everybody that I was directing a movie and I was writing a movie and that he was going to be in the movie that I was doing. And I was like, oh my God. And then he told me the writer's journey. I started reading that. I was like, I know everything in this. And in quarantine, that was my quarantine project. And this is all his fault. I actually did it because he said I could. And it's experience. He's, you know, he falls in line with like a lot of people that I'm lucky enough to work with who did inspire me to do that. And, you know, it's a long journey, but it's really cool when you work with people who make you feel like you can do more. They make you better. He made me better. So this is all his fault that I'm doing that now. Watch out, world. I'm just kidding.
Don't let people know that though, because then he might want his 20%.
No, he's got to be in it. He's got to come be in it now. That's the deal.
Fantastic. Oh, can we pretend it's set in like the Freaky universe since it's a reunion of the two of
I know. Yeah, Kyle will be in it too. It'll be the Freaky map of tiny perfect things. And yeah, we should definitely do that. Yeah.
The map of tiny freaky things.
The map of tiny freaky things. The map of big freaky things.
Well, I want to remind everyone watching at home that this movie is now on Amazon Prime. You can watch it again and again. I want to thank you so much for being here with us today, and congratulations on really a wonderful movie.